Hello, it's Mr. Mabry, and I wanted to give you some instructions on how to do the Monsters Genetic Lab. So this is a really fun lab in which you're going to use your understanding of Punnett squares and genetics to create a baby monster from the genome and phenotypes of the mommy and daddy monster presented on this page. So let's dive in. For the first part of this lab, you can read these introductory paragraphs, and then it says you need to flip a coin to determine the genotype for the mommy monster right here, for the female monster. So I have a coin app I found online. You can flip whatever you have at your disposal if you have coins on you. If not, you can flip, like I have a remote here, a remote I could flip. Maybe you have like a notebook you could flip, whatever you want. So what I'm going to do here, it says I need to flip a coin to determine the genotype. So if I get heads, it's allele number 1, tails, allele 2. So let's see what happens. So let's see, for the trait of eye color, I could either be 2 small eyes, big E, or 1 large eye, little e. So let's flip my coin. Ready? Flip! And it's heads! So that is 2 small eyes, big letter E. So my genotype is big E for the first allele. And then let's bring back the coin toss. I'm going to flip again. Hey, it's heads again. So I'm big E, big E. So now let's figure out what my phenotype is. If I have 2 capital E's, that is 2 small i's, so I would write 2 small, oh, it's so hard to write with a mouse, small eyes. And now I move on to my next trait. Eye color is incomplete. So here's an example where I've taught you guys to either have dominant or recessive alleles. And if you have a dominant allele, then it always covers up the recessive allele. But sometimes there are cases where you could have a blend. And so in this case, if I have red and white at the same time, I'll have a unique phenotype. So let's see if that occurs here. So I'm going to flip a coin. I got tails, so my first allele is big R with this funny little apostrophe. All right, let's flip again. Oh, boo. Let's pretend I get heads. 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 There we go. My second allele is going to be nope, not that E. Let go. Get off. Ah. Fix it. Stop. So my second allele is just a regular big R. So now for a phenotype, you'd probably be thinking, well, what does this mean? I've got a big R and then an R with this weird apostrophe and it's also capital. Well, in this rare instance, whenever you see something that's incomplete, that means one allele isn't completely dominant over the other, so you're going to blend the two together. So red and white blended together is going to be pink eyes. Ooh, cool, pink eyes. And so that is how you do the sheet. It's not too hard. We're just going to work down the page here. Now when you get down here to the tail, I could see where the tail could be sort of tricky because there's 3 different traits. There's tail shape, tail color, and then there's this thing called a regulatory gene. Well, here's how the regulatory gene works. You're going to flip for either you have a tail or you don't have a tail. So let's pretend, for instance, I get big T, little t here. Am I going to have a tail? Yes, I will have a tail. However, if I didn't get that, but let's say I got little t, then it's no tail. And I'd write a no here, which means I go back to tail color and tail shape. Does it matter that I'm supposed to have a curly purple tail if this gene says no tail? No, sir. Does not matter. You're not going to have a curly purple tail because this gene says, I don't care that you're supposed to have curly and purple. This gene says we're not even making a tail. So that's how that stuff works. So we're going to fill out this chart for the female. And then if you want to go ahead and pause the video and do that, that's great. And then you can play it again when you're ready for the second part. Okay, I'm assuming you're ready for the second part. So I'm going to scroll down to this page. Now for the male or daddy monster, you don't have to do what we did up here for the female. What you're going to do is you're just going to interpret the genotype and fill in the phenotype. So for instance, the genotype for the dad in regards to eyes is little e. And I look up here and it says, little e is 1 large eye. So I know the phenotype is 1 large eye. I hope you write nicer and faster than me. And then I look for eye color. It says the phenotype is white. So I look up here and I think, what do I need in order to be white? Well, I don't want any of these alleles. I just need those two R with apostrophe. So this is going to be big R, apostrophe, big R, apostrophe. Let's do one more. Skin color is supposed to be green, and it could be green or blue, but I don't want any of these blue or I wouldn't be green, so it's just going to be big G, big G. So that's how you do this part. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and finish this chart right here, and then I'll tell you how to do the next part. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, I'm assuming you've got all of this done. Now, for the final part, let's cross all this off. We are done on this page. Instead of doing this part, I have made a different sheet. Here's the last part of the assignment. Part 3, now it's time to make that monster baby. So what we're going to do is we're going to use those parent genotypes from that first part for the mom and the second part for the dad to create these Punnett squares to determine the geno and phenotypes for the babies. So all you have to do here is copy down the geno and phenotypes from the first page. So let me show you. On this page, we saw that for eye color, the mom's genotype was big E, big E. So on my paper, I'm going to write down for mom, I'm going to do it in red for you. I'd write down big E, big E. And then for dad, go back here, and dad is, little e, little e. Okay, so dad was little e, little e. I'll do that in red. So now the question is, well, what was mom's phenotype? Well, big E meant mom has two small eyes. So here I would write two small eyes. Okay, and then for dad, what did dad have? Dad had one large eye. So I'm going to write down here in red, one large eye. But the $1,000,000 question is, what's the kid going to have? Is the kid going to have two small eyes like mom or one large eye like dad? So in order to find this out, we need to put this genotype and this genotype over here and do a Punnett square to determine the probability of the kid. So if we were to do that, I don't think I can write on here. Nuts. So we'd have a big E here and a big E here and a little e here and a little e here. And if you drag and drop, you're going to see all four of these boxes would be big E, little e. And so now the question is, so what does he have? He has a big E and a little e. Well, that big E is dominant. And big E, again, remember, it says two small eyes. And it'll remind you of that right here. Two small eyes. And so just like mama, we are going to have a kid with two small eyes. So that's what you do for this baby page. You copy these, you do a Punnett square. Now if you don't get 100%, see what it says here? Use the highest percent probability for the baby. And if you get two squares versus two or 50-50, flip a coin and let the winning coin be the genotype and phenotype. Now do this for all 12 traits, and then it's time to create your My Little Monster portrait. You need to draw your monster baby and come up with a fun bio of who he is and what he does and why he's so cool. You should have a blast with this. Have a great time. Let me know if you need any help.